Good afternoon, good morning, depending where you are in the world. So we're back 2 weeks later for the second hangout of Microbes and Brain. And I'm Ivo Bonecca, one of the course organizers.
And I'm Grégoire Chevalier, the other one.
So we're going to try to answer some of the questions that were in the forum while we wait for questions from participants, live participants. So the one of the question that came back is about the development of the microbiota during birth and the origin of the microbiota, and if there's any long-term effects, whether it's through vaginal delivery or C-section. And so as we discussed it 2 weeks ago, indeed, it's a very trend. I mean, when a baby is delivered by vaginal route or by C-section, they will acquire different types of microbiota. The vaginal route will have more vaginal and intestinal-like microbiota, and then by C-section is closer to what will be found in the operating room or on the skin of people. But as we said, it's a very transient effect that will be wiped out very quickly. Nevertheless, there's enough studies last couple of years showing that even if that period is it's a transient effect, and it's a short-term difference between C-section and vaginal delivery, it has it can have a long-lasting effect on the priming and education of the immune system. And that has been shown to be associated particularly with the risk of developing Crohn's disease. So not all inflammatory diseases, but specifically with Crohn's disease. How that works exactly is still a question that is being trying to be answered by scientists working on the subject. But clearly there's at least one correlation, and there's an effect of the way a baby is delivered in an increased risk of developing certain diseases, in particular Crohn's disease.
What other questions? So you had one other question on the forum was regarding the disponibility of tryptophan in germ-free animals, and it seemed for this person that it was a bit
counterintuitive.
Yeah, counterintuitive. And it's true that there is a disbalance in tryptophan metabolism in depressed patients, and it seems also to be the case in animal models, especially regarding kynurenine versus serotonin. Tryptophan is an amino acid that's going to be metabolized into serotonin, and also it's also true that some microbes of the microbiota can metabolize tryptophan through and give birth to serotonin. So one of the explanations for this increased tryptophan in germ-free animals would be that potentially those microbes that can metabolize tryptophan are absent, and so you have more tryptophan. But it doesn't necessarily relate to the level of serotonin, especially because the serotonin that is produced in the gut, whether by the host or by the microbes, cannot reach the brain, cannot cross the blood-brain barrier. So it's not necessarily because you find differences in terms of tryptophan availability in the guts that you will find differences inside the brain.
So another question was related with the duplication time of bacteria in the gut once they're exposed to nutrient provision, and a question whether the increase of biomass was exponential or not. So as long as it's as long as it's immediate growth, and there's no massive death and equivalent to stationary phase, the bacteria will be duplicating during generation time. So that's an exponential growth. It's from 1 to 2 to 4 to 8 to 16. So that's an exponential growth by definition. It's not a linear growth. So that answers a little bit the question of in the forum. Afterwards, any other?
Afterwards, we don't have so many questions for those 2 weeks. So
it seems that our participants, the different talks were very clear. so that
good for us.
so that people were interested, but clear enough so that they didn't have any doubts. And so if you don't see any new questions coming up in the forum or from any live participants, I don't think we're going to continue much longer with this Hangout. So
no.
So anyway.
So yes, next week will be the last week. I mean, actually this week. Sorry, this last week regarding neuroimmune interactions in the gut, and so we will do a last Hangout next week
on Wednesday at 6 p.m. like today. And we'll try to answer as many questions as possible that you will put on the forum, or for those who will be live connected to the Hangout. So if there's nothing else for the moment, we wish you a good day.
If you're not available right now and you don't have the time to ask your questions right now, we will answer them next week. Don't worry.
You can post them as many as you want on the forum, and we'll answer to all of them. Either directly in the forum and also at the Hangout in a week and a half, next Wednesday at 6 p.m. So Paris time, obviously, for those who are in Europe, in our time zone. So we wish you a good day, and thank you for continue following the MOOC, and I hope you'll enjoy the last week of the MOOC.
And see you next week.
And see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.